I'm John Oetjens, and welcome to Schooling Around. Last week, we started our look at classes that can help you get a job. We focused on what has happened to our schools through the years as we reached for Silicon Valley and forgot about nuts and bolts. We spoke with Dr. Bill Skilling, our superintendent, and learned about occupational classes available to our students at the Oakland technical campuses. This week, we focus on what we have here in Oxford. You might be surprised. Stay with us. Dan Balsley is one of the best-known automotive technology teachers around, and we're fortunate to have him here at Oxford High School. He's been here a long time and won many awards. His kids have ended up both in auto repair as well as engineering, many with scholarships. We sat down with Dan and talked about the program.
I have.
How many years have you been here now?
It's 27 years here and 33 overall.
When you started here, I mean, you've got quite a victory record. You've won a lot of awards, and you have a pretty impressive track record here. When you started here way back then, did you have a vision for this department?
Actually, I did. The auto program was not like it is now. And I came in with a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, a lot of enthusiasm, and was actually reprimanded for it. My boss was unhappy, the students were unhappy. They kept telling me, both the students and the staff were saying, "What are you trying to do? This is only Oxford." And I had a bigger vision, and I knew we could really do something. And I was pushing hard for change. In the first few months, I'd made so much change that the paper came in and did a story on it. Students began to see that I was really trying to accomplish technology training and began to support the program. So I'd say by mid-year, I had some support of both the students and staff, and it just kept growing from there. I started getting involved in the competitions and winning at a state level, and it just kept building.
So when you started putting this program together, what did you have in mind? Was it competition? Was it helping these kids get a job? What really was going through your mind?
I wanted first and foremost to be the best auto training program that I could offer, the best for the students and for myself. I pour a lot of time and energy into the job, and I wanted to make sure I did the very best job that I could. And I believe it's very important work. I think I can make a difference in the students' futures and in their lives. And so I take it very seriously, and I try to do the very best job I can.
I think you've made a difference in a lot of kids' lives. I'll bet you've got quite a healthy number of kids who've graduated from engineering schools, as well as just gone on to work for various dealerships and mechanical companies around the area, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I do. I go into the local repair facilities, and they're being run by my former students. I have former students in the service area. I go into the local dealerships, like Skelnick has been very supportive of our program, and half the technicians there have come out of my program. So it's good to see the students out there working in the field, gainfully employed. I have an excellent job. It's a chance to see the kids grow so much in the time that I have them. When they come into the program, a lot of times they're just riding on a skateboard, wearing their hat backwards, and now when they leave, they have skills, they have certifications, they have self-esteem, they discover themselves, and it's great to be a part of that and to see that growth in my program.
Dan, you've accomplished so much in this here program. What goals do you have left?
Well, I want to keep going. I would like to be able to continue to touch lives and have as much impact as I can with the young people that I work with. So I really do appreciate the position that I have, and I want to continue to try to touch as many lives as I can.
Not to mention win the AAA Ford National Championship pretty soon, right?
That would be a nice accomplishment. I haven't done that yet.
We also asked Dan to give us a tour of his trophy case.
This is a first place that we got in 2001. We have one in 96, 2009, 87. These are trophies that you get from not only qualifying for state finals, but also placing first, second, or third. We even have some where the high written score in Michigan, as well as the successes for participating in the competition. The program is ASE certified, NATEF certified, so these are some of our accomplishments as well. We have this showcase for participating all the way back to some of the competitions in the late 80s, as well as this other showcase that has some additional trophies that the program has won from working in the same competitions, primarily AAA Ford, but also some other accomplishments both in certifications, my personal certification, as well as the program certifications and accomplishments.
Automotive tech teacher Dan Balsley. When we mention chemistry, biology, and physics, many stark images come to mind. But when we say forensic science, or as some kids call it, CSI, that's another matter. Kelly Baldwin is the Oxford science teacher who teaches this class. We paid her a visit.
You're doing wiki groups.
Yep. The learning management system, Haiku, has the ability to set up wiki projects. They can be for a single student, small groups, or a whole class. And so these are small groups. These kids can communicate with one another, and the other kids in the room won't be able to see their work. I can review it, and I can interact with them, and they can interact with each other and work from home.
Well, they can even work from home and access this on the computer.
Yep, it's web-based, so it's really nice. We can use it for projects, assessment, just a regular class map. It's really great.
Tell me about the class itself. Now, how long has this class been in existence?
I believe we're in year 6, and this class was conceived of by a student. She asked me if, in fact, we could have this class, and I said, I don't know. So I went and I took some college coursework to see what it was all about. It's based on regular science that I teach. I have a cross certification, so I can do chemistry, physics, earth science, astronomy, geology. And so I went to the coursework and found that this is a lot of just basic science. And I proposed it to the board on behalf of the students, and it was accepted, and now we have 3 levels. So Colleen Welter started it off, and so the kids have really taken off with it.
And the formal name of the class is?
Forensic Science
Forensic
Studies.
Science. Somebody called it CSI. I guess that's
Everybody
the popular
does,
love.
that's the popular.
Yeah, okay,
And, but they learn real quick that it's really not like TV.
And what is the object of the class?
The object of the class is to have students understand how to do science coursework that is not box lab. This is outside the box, real world problem solving. I'm learning a skill, and then I'm given an unknown problem, and I need to solve it with my skills. And sometimes they need to come up with their own protocols, and it's not always what we expect it to be. So it's science in the real world.
Okay, so give me an example. Like right now, the kids are burning different substances.
What will they do with this?
Yeah.
All right, so in a couple weeks, they're going to have a crime scene. They will walk into a room that they've never seen before, and they will have to figure out what happened. There might be a dummy on the floor, and they should check to see if it's alive or dead, and what's going to try to start to look around the room to see what kinds of evidence might be available, and they will collect it with chain of custody, just like a CSI worker would, and then they will bring that evidence back to the lab, and they will analyze it. And so many types of evidence that they will encounter will be trace, and so they already know how to analyze hair in their learning fabric and fiber, and they will learn all of these skills, and they will analyze what they understand at the crime scene and try to figure out what happened, try to recreate the crime.
Okay, very good. So in other words, they will look at ashes or
Sure.
the residue of something
Or
and
they'll-
be able, by its looks, smell, whatever, to identify what that object is.
So first they're looking for what evidence is here and what can I analyze, and they'll bring it back in here, and if it's a piece of fiber, they're going to try to figure out what kind it is and whether it belonged to the victim, or if it might have belonged to the perpetrator, or it might have belonged to the room in which they found the evidence, and so they're going to try to track that back. and they're going to try to recreate the story based on the clues that they see.
Wow. Have you ever had any real CSI people come in and
Occasionally, we have had law enforcement opportunities to come in. We really focus on the science aspect of it rather than the law enforcement piece because that's not anything I'm trained in. So when we have the option for guest speakers, we absolutely are welcoming them.
has this inspired any kids to move on into that field later on?
A few. And the class is really not meant to do that because that area is actually, it's a high percentage of people who have the degree but are not working in their field because the television sensationalism makes kids really love it and they go to study it, but there are very few jobs comparatively available. So what I really hope that they're learning are problem solving skills. Can I think outside the box? Can I apply the skills that I've learned to a new problem? Do I have what it takes to be an independent learner? And can I solve problems? That's what I really want them to learn. How do I use my science and how do I answer problems with it?
What grades are most of these kids in?
They have to have 1 year of science before they begin, so they should be sophomore and above. Most of the kids in the room you see are juniors and seniors.
Wow, it looks like you've got a full class here. I imagine this is
I
one of
love
the
it.
more popular classes.
I love it. Yeah, I love to have the kids come in and they're usually pretty full. So they work really hard.
Okay, you guys, you got to tell me how you like this class.
I like it. It's definitely different than what I expected.
How's it different?
Because I expected it to be more like the CSI shows that you see, but it's nothing like that. It's a lot more tedious and a lot harder.
Maybe the real world CSI is that way, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot. They make it look a lot easier.
So you think you go on to level 2?
Well, I'm already in that class next semester, so.
Oh, you're already?
Yeah,
Oh.
I already got put in it, so I'm hoping it. Because this is what I used to want to do, but now that I've taken this class, I'm like, I don't know yet. It's really hard, so I don't know.
Kelly Ballman goes on to tell us about other types of experiments the kids do. Kids, you just mentioned something about blood spatter. Tell me more about that. You were just talking about
When the
that.
students do blood spatter analysis, they learn how all of the geometry from their math classes really is applied in real life. So they will take some measurements of the spatter and they will analyze the pattern and they will figure out the source height of the blood and how and generally how fast it was traveling, and they can then recreate it. So was the person standing or sitting? Let's say that they got hit with a bat, like a blunt force trauma. Was that source of blood somewhere by my shoulder, somewhere by my knee? They can take witness accounts and try to match the data to what the witnesses are saying. If they said, oh, it's self-defense, he was standing up and he was going to shoot me, but the evidence says that when you shot back, that person was down low, that doesn't go together. So the kids are able to kind of recreate what happened using math, the math that they never thought had a reason to be used. So I really love it when they say, oh, now I see what I could do with this. I see how it fits together.
Tell me about some of the other projects that they work on
Sure.
during the course of the class.
We do a unit on fingerprinting, how to identify and analyze fingerprinting, how to take fingerprints. The kids do a DNA analysis to learn how to read some DNA results. And we do some tracks, skid marks for accident reconstruction. They study glass so that they can see what type of glass it is, and if the glass has been impacted, what was the order of the number of impacts. Was the impact from the outside of the glass or the inside of the glass? So there's a lot of physics involved in the class. We do, after this, the next thing will be the biology of blood, so we'll do blood typing. It's all simulated, of course. Crime scenes are the kids' favorite thing. That's where they get to take all the different skills that they've learned, and they're challenged, and they walk in the room, and they won't even know which pieces are evidence. Sometimes they collect things that I never put there. Like the first year, the very first class, I love this the most. I put the crime scene in the courtyard, and they were busy collecting things, and they found a code and a phone number, so they called. And it was the security company for the school. And the security company contacted us and said, oh my goodness, what is going on? How are these kids getting our phone number? I said, well, someone let that slip drop, and that's what happened, but they pursued it that far. Another one that I really loved is we had one in the air handling room where the heating and cooling is, and I didn't have money for a mannequin, so I had the art classes make partial mannequins for me using paper and tape. In one of their art projects, we just took their art piece and applied it to this, and so I only had parts of legs and arms and a head, so we kind of did a little dismemberment scene, not too gory but crazy. But we happened to have a tiny leak in one of the pipes, and it had like a sewer smell, like a backup, like a meat smell. And the custodians were looking for the pieces of the missing body because they thought I had put like hamburger or something there, and I never did. And the kids were looking and looking and looking too. And I was kind of chuckling, but I didn't tell them because they're supposed to look. They find things I don't intend, and they don't find things that I do. But I only grade them on how they analyze what they find. So it really is very fluid, and I just love to see them learning and doing things independently.
Yes, you were, speaking of learning independently, you mentioned something about the grading system early on. These kids are on their own a lot of the times, right?
I'm here to facilitate, but I'm really the facilitator. They are managing their own learning in the sense that they're asking the questions that they need, but they're trying to figure it out on their own. And so I love that. They don't really need me anymore toward the end. They've become super independent.
And the computer involvement is interesting too, that a lot of the information goes on to, I guess, a website that they can access.
It's their learning management system, the Haiku that I mentioned before, and it's a way for them to continue to interact because oftentimes they don't have enough time within the confines of the class. Because 60 minutes 4 times a week is not a lot of time.
So they can work on it after school. If
I
they
have
want.
open lab time just like a college would, and they can come in and do what they need to do, and they clean up after
You guys
themselves
look
and they
very
go.
busy here. Tell me what you're doing.
We're working on our reference charts for burn testing fibers.
Have you already done the actual testing, or?
We're in the process of doing that.
Okay, so you're going to be doing some burning a little
Yeah.
later? Okay, we'll watch for that. Kelly explains that having the kids get into this field really isn't her goal. She says there are just not enough of these positions available, and it's not the most pleasant work. She tells us more about the class.
I'm sorry, level 1 is this basic, how do I approach a crime scene, how do I collect and how do I document evidence, trace evidence, some fingerprinting, and the beginning of blood analysis. The second level is not quite as meticulous. They've gotten the basics down and they're going to really just apply. So it's lab, lab, lab. So they're going to look at the physics of blood spatter analysis. We'll do tracks and treads, which is tire tracks, footprints, what can I learn about a person's footprint. They will look at DNA, they will look at, let me think what else. It's very changeable because I let the kids choose some of their units. So we can do glass, I mentioned it before, where they're looking at refractive index of glass, how thick it is, what it's made of, and that's for accident reconstruction and that sort of stuff. Sometimes they choose to do that one. DNA takes a while. The blood spatter analysis takes a good long time because they actually string it. They do the mathematical analysis and take strings and recreate it. And what happens if they've done it well is the strings will crisscross in the 3-dimensional space where the source of the blood is. They do a longer involved crime scene. And the other thing that they spend a lot of time on in 2 is they write a crime scene for the Forensic Science 1 students. And so they have to take all the pieces or units that they've learned and have them represented in their own storyline, and they have to tell me how their evidence fits together, and they present it to their class as a whodunit. This is our story, these are our pieces, what do you think happened?
Right, in the third level?
And the third level is an independent study, and those kids look at chromatography in science and how it's applied in forensics. They are doing witness statements and interviewing. They will do sketch reconstructions using a FACES software, so I can have an eyewitness describe someone to them and they have to create it in a computer generating program. They also pick an independent topic, like a common one that they really like is looking at arson, that kind of stuff, or the criminal mind sort of things, the profiler, they love to look at the profiling. We do an independent book study. Dr. Bass, who started the Body Farm, has written a book about how that process came to be and the cases that he was involved in as he went along his journey. So we do that, we do some book studies, and we talk about how does this look in the real world, what's reality and what's TV fiction. And so that class goes along pretty quickly.
How long does each level last?
They're each a semester.
A semester?
And you have to do 1 before you can do 2. You have to do 2 before you can do 3, but they're all perfectly elective. No one has to take any of them.
Ah, okay. Does it look good on a resume in case you want to get into something like this later?
I think it looks awesome in terms of problem solving. I mean, again, I don't want them to be CSIs. That's a very special job, and they're looking at the horrible things that people do to other people. And I really don't wish that for my students. I really want them to be good scientists and good thought thought-provoking problem solvers.
It's an interesting way to use chemistry and physics and
Absolutely. So
biology.
I'm teaching science through the context of forensics, and I'm teaching them how all their science classes kind of go together.
So most of these kids have already, well, they have to have one science class.
Usually it's biology,
Yep.
but most of them have 2 or 3. Most of them have chemistry and some part of physics.
What a wet mount is when you take a thin piece of the string that you're doing, and you place it on a slide and put a little drop of water on it, and then a top cover slide, and you look at it under the microscope.
Okay, what are you trying to determine with this particular one?
You're trying to determine what it looks like, and when you burn it, you're going to determine what it smells like. If it smells like marshmallows or campfire or cotton.
I was curious to know how new this science is.
I would say that the experiments that we're using have been around for decades. Accessible to high school level kids, probably in the last 5 to 10 years.
I'm thinking law enforcement people. Were they able to do some of this stuff 20 years ago?
They could do all of this. And actually they use more sophisticated, they have like scanning electron microscopes and that sort of thing. But those are not available to every department. What you see on CSI is really not what happens.
Right.
The kind of analysis that we're doing is possible to do, but it's probably not done routinely. There's just no time for these kinds of investigations. So this is not new technology. It really is just new application for education.
I see. Oxford High science teacher Kelly Ballman. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is Connie again from Connie's Kitchen, coming to you from Treetop Lodge, the place where magic happens and unicorns roam freely. Of course, you have to come to the lodge to understand about the unicorn thing, but they're everywhere. We'll be doing a wide variety of cooking shows here on Oxford Community Television, and I personally would like to thank the crew for coming out and giving me this opportunity to share my passion and what I love to do with you from Connie's Kitchen. So please join us on OCTV, join us at the lodge, and look for us all over the town. And if you see unicorns, they probably came from here. See you soon.
Project Lead the Way has been influencing our pre-engineering type classes for a couple of years now. Dave Okasinski is one of Oxford High's teachers who specializes in this. We paid a visit. What is the real intention of a class like this? Is it to help point the way into engineering for kids, or to give them a little taste of what it's like, to see if that's really the direction they want to go?
Yeah, the bigger one is the whole organization Project Lead the Way. Their main goal is to help students see engineering fields as a career option, and then help them prepare to enter college and be successful in it. So they keep a bunch of statistics about students being more likely to go into engineering if they've had Project Lead the Way classes, and then their success rates in college. Now this particular class that you were in, it's the first year one at the high school. So it's to give them, like you said, just a little taste of it. It's actually more of a design type class. They see some engineering concepts in it, what engineers might do, but they do more of the CAD software that a designer would do. So it gets their feet wet, they can see some engineering, they can be in a career tech related class and decide if they want to try more of the engineering style classes by taking the second or third level.
And in this neck of the woods where the auto industry is so large, that's a good thing to get a taste of, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a ton of jobs in the area. Actually, we were just at a conference for Oakland County, and they were going over their career tech jobs, and mechanical engineering showed up as the third most in demand job.
Now, Project Lead the Way, I've heard a lot about that. Tell me, what are some of the things included under that umbrella?
So Project Lead the Way has an engineering pathway and it has a biomed pathway. So the engineering one, they just expanded it to go kindergarten through high school. That was about 2 years ago. So we've had it 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And now they have some of the, pre-6th grade programs. The biomed one, we also have 3 of the biomed classes here at the high school as well. And what biomed is, it takes the, the medical part of it and puts a little bit of engineering into it. People that might be designing implants or artificial legs and arms.
And this Project Lead the Way, that's not just here in Oxford. Is that a national thing, or?
Yep, Project Lead the Way has an affiliate school in every affiliate university in every state in Michigan. So ours is Eastern. I was teaching down at Duke for North Carolina. But every state has their own maybe almost every state, because I know they just opened up one in Hawaii a couple of years ago. So it's a whole national program, gives you lots of resources as far as teachers and training and curriculum.
Is it a common thing in most high schools, or is it kind of unique to Oxford in this area?
I believe Clarkston has one as well. There's probably 2 or 3 in Oakland County. It's been growing kind of fast. It's been around for a couple of years. They had a new CEO that took over about 3 years ago, who's made lots of partnerships, and we're seeing it taken off in this area.
So Project Lead the Way has been around for what, 2 or 3 years?
The organization has probably been around for about 15 years.
Uh-huh.
It used to mostly be concentrated in Indiana, I believe.
And obviously the intention is to help, to give kids a taste of what it's like as far as the world of engineering or the world of biomedical science, to see if that's the sort of thing that they want to pursue, right?
Yeah, instead of going to college and not being sure of a major or switching majors, they've had a chance to explore something that might be in their field of interest. And so if they elect to take classes in college, they know it's something that they want to do and they have a background in.
And that, you've got, let's see, how many levels of this particular class do you have?
At the high school we have 3 levels. They can take a computer integrated manufacturing class the second year. They learn how to program a CNC machine, robotic arms, microcontrollers. And then the third year they have a principles of engineering class where they learn how to do some of the calculations that an engineer would do, thermodynamics, kinematics, statics, things like that.
Now, I imagine these kids still have to get some college education after, even if they were to sail through all these classes with straight A's, they'd still have to get some sort of college education to be qualified to actually work in those fields, right?
Yep. Students right out of high school have gotten jobs, and we had a student last year that graduated, and he got hired at Poseidon in the industrial park on Glassby there, doing CAD work for them. They needed some easy CAD stuff, and they liked him so much that they decided they would hire him on and pay for his college degree to get a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering at Oakland University. So they're paying his tuition.
Well, that's a great opportunity. So it is possible to get some sort of job. It might be a very entry-level position, but one in which they would help him build on something like that.
Yeah, when they leave the high school, they'll have some technical skills. He really impressed them by asking some pointed questions about some of the equipment that he saw there and their processes for programming their controllers.
And we've got some pretty good facilities here for that, don't we?
Yeah, we passed a bond about 3 or 4 years ago, and they built a large engineering lab at the other end of the school where they've got some industrial-sized machines.
Dave Okasinski tells us about another opportunity outside of Oxford that our kids can take advantage of.
And it was put together with a consortium of state legislators, business owners that were in need of employees, and some of our local community colleges. So I think I took 3 students there last year, and they applied. One of them got it. And what it is a 3-year program. The students get hired by a company, and the company is going to pay them a stipend, whether they're in the classroom or working, and they're going to pay for their tuition. So after 3 years, they graduate with an associate's degree in mechatronics, computer programming. There was 2 others, CAD and something else. Oh, CNC operator.
Okay, and how did this come about?
There was, I heard a piece on the radio. The employers actually wanted to grow but couldn't find qualified employees to hire. So they got frustrated and got together to create this program with the legislators and the community colleges. So I'm taking 35 kids tomorrow down to Oakland schools to help them complete the application process and qualify for the grant.
So they fill out an application and turn it in, and then they find out whether or not...
Yep, they actually have to interview with employers, and technically they get hired by the employer. So each process is a little bit different, but they all fall into this 3-year program where their tuition will be paid for, and they'll get a set amount every week.
Is this an Oakland County program?
It's statewide. Oakland schools put together a program to help students in Oakland County qualify for it.
Obviously, there are some other classes available too, such as biomedical science and art. After-school activities like robotics help too. As you can see, there is much available to head our kids in the direction of a career without college, but much is still needed. Only the planning of the districts and the will of the people will make that better. Thanks to Kyle Snage at the controls, Dan Zweiss at the desk, and you for watching. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.